Alright guys, this is my rescue. I rescued him a couple months ago. And the person that was keeping him in a 40-gallon breeder with like a 150 to 200 watt, one of those hardware store heat lights, with a screen top, reptile bark, and stones, rocks, no hides. All the sides in the aquarium were open. And when I got him, he was in super rough shape. It's been a couple months. I've given him parasite treatments. The vet checked him over. We had to give him parasite treatment, and as you can see on his back, we see that white spot. That white spot went almost all the way up to the back of his head and filled out most of that black area, which was so white it was down to the flesh. I mean, it wasn't even scales anymore, and that's how severely he was burned. And he had all sorts of stuck shed. His toes, the nails on his toes were super long, and all sorts of problems. But he's been in my care for a couple months now, and as you can see, he's shedding, and it's taken a while for this to happen. But as you can see, he's very alert. He's very feisty. He doesn't like me at all, which is a good sign. Hisses, whips, bites at me, and there's still a lot of damage to his skin, but you look at his tail, it's getting nice and fat. He's about 12 inches. He eats like a horse. And, we got him in Smog's old raise-up enclosure. I'm hoping that she is a female, but it's too early to tell. He doesn't look like Smog did at this age, so I'm hoping maybe it is a female. But as you can see, all the shed coming off. And the vet said there was no internal damage when we took his fecal and they did a blood work. So I don't know how he didn't have gout or any organ damage, but I might have caught him in time. So, but as you can see now, he's pretty good. Before he was in here, since I had Smog in his recovery while I was rebuilding his larger enclosure, I had him in, which again, some people might say was wrong, but I took two Rubbermaid Rubbermaid containers. They were huge, like the ones you'd put clothes in, and I cut them and put them together, bolted them together, and then sealed them with hot glue. Sealed all the seams, so it was, and redid the top and fully sealed and closed it in, and put in it was in about 4 feet by 2 feet by probably 18 inches. That's length times width times height. So I was able to add a foot of substrate and a basking spot of 130 with still temperature gradient down into the low 80s, high 70s, and I put some corrugated pipe in there for burrows, so we didn't have to worry about it digging, because again, his body wasn't in the best shape. But then from there, while I was building Smog's cage, I was able to build a 4x2x2 enclosure with the scrap left over. And then once Smog's cage was finished, I moved him or her into his old enclosure, and she loves it, he loves it. And even when I got him, he was still feisty. He was alert even in the original keeper's enclosure. He was, you know, when I came to pick him up, he was still on high alert, and he wasn't eyes closed, you know, anything like that. But he's definitely not handable. If you try to grab him without gloves, you're going to get bit. And which, you know, some people might think that's a bad thing, but usually with the experienced keepers of monitors, you know, the more feisty, the better. If they're hissing and whipping and running around and trying to bite you, that's usually a sign of good health instead of the other. But you can see that his damaged skin, and the vet said that, you know, he might have a permanent scar, but, you know, if you look at it, see where it is here, imagine it as wide as the tongs are, all the way up to here. I mean, white down to there wasn't even scales left. But we've just been treating it with silver sulfide, which is an antibacterial cream, and giving him the proper gradients, the heat, humidity, and giving him a good diet. And he's done with me. And we'll just give you an idea of what happens when you touch him. See? Doesn't like to be held. And there he goes to his basking, which is again 130, 140. I got two 50-watt basking bulbs, halogen floods, and that's just a regular CFL 65K, like a 26-watt, just to give him some overall temperature. And this is one of the gauges. It's a digital that I picked up. It's reading 66% because I have the top open, but it usually, when I put the top back on, it gets to about 75%. So, yeah, this is the new little guy, the Rescue, and we're gonna hopefully he'll make a full recovery, or she'll make a full recovery, and as she gets bigger, we'll either, if it's a female, we're going to introduce them to smog to see if we can get some breeding going. And if it's a female, if it's a male or female, regardless, I'm going to have to build another cage just in case there's a problem with the two. Even if she's female, even if there's a problem with her and smog, I'll need another thing to keep her in. But for now, this is 6x2x2 with her size will work perfectly for the next, I don't know, 6 months, depending on her growth rate. With, you know, depends how severely stunted he or she was from the previous keeper. But we'll keep you guys updated and let you know how he or she comes out. And